This is Togrim, and you are watching my third Rift Warrior PvP video. In this particular Codex Warfront, I came in grouped in with a guildie named Joda, a 22 healing cleric, and a level 29 melee DPS cleric named Frozen Treat, who's a player that I know from World of Warcraft who rolled on the same server as I did here. So we start off the action at Codex, which, as many people will tell you, is the most important of the nodes here in this particular battleground, and we burn the target who comes down here in melee range, and I'm going to wait to rift walk up here up top. So basically, as long as there's enemy range DPS up top, we're not going to be able to cap the flag and get points rolling in here. So I was going to rift walk up to that player, but he breaks line of sight, so I go ahead and use a rift walk and teleport to the top. And you have to be careful when you rift walk, because sometimes right when you port up, if you keep moving, you'll run right off the cliff. So I take a quick peek there and you can see there's a few enemies up here, and I'm trying to pressure this rogue and get him to jump down, which is what he does here. And I don't know the rogue class that well, but it looks like this is either a marksman or a ranger spec. So this is an archer based spec, and we go ahead and pressure him, and I finish him off there. And so we're starting to win the numbers game here. The Guardian faction, our opponents in this Warfront, had a lot of healing. You can see this is a cleric. By his blue mana bar, rogues have purple, warriors have yellow, and then mages have blue. So you can see whenever I get to 3 attack power, I use Rift Walk there to close the gap again, and I get this rogue to jump down, which is exactly what I wanted. Then I come over to this cleric, and I'm pressuring her, and she jumps down too. So clerics are really popular in this game. Cleric is the healing class, and the really cool thing about Rift is you can spec your cleric to play like a hot-based time healer over time-based healer, a direct cast time healer, a pet-based healer. You basically can roll one healing class and spec it however you want. And I like this because you don't have to make a firm commitment to one particular spec until you've had the opportunity to play a lot of different ones. And the same applies to every class. You know, like right now we're on a rogue target, and you can spec your rogue as a dual wielding, similar to a rogue in World of Warcraft, where it's a dual dagger wielding assassin. You can spec your rogue to be more like an archer or hunter, or you can spec your rogue to be a bard, which is a kind of a healer support class. So, you know, every class in Rift has a bunch of spec trees, and you can customize it however you want. And I think this is part of the reason why people who've been playing the game so far have been really raving about it. The mechanics are great, and even as a warrior here, you know, I have the option of playing a tank-based player, or I can spec him as more of a dual-wielding, you know, heavy hitting warrior, or more like a Death Knight from World of Warcraft with you know, or a damage over time based or a magic based, where so the customization is fantastic. So you can see here we're over at statue node. This is over by the opposing team's res point. So we're not necessarily expecting to hold this node, but we're trying to prevent them from getting points and keep them locked up here. So right here I get rooted, so I use Rift Walk to break the root. And granted, it's not so much to close the gap to my opponent, who's only 10 feet away, but I want to keep pressuring him. And you know, I've been dialoguing with other Riftblade warriors on the forum, and some of them only play their Riftblade as a ranged DPS class, and you can do this. I think you give up a lot of reactive abilities, melee-based abilities, and CC and interrupts, which is why I play as a very in-your-face aggressive melee, and I use my ranged abilities, you know, when I can't close the gap or it doesn't make sense to charge in. So you can see here with this cleric, I'm careful not to let her to get inside position. I think she jumped up on the big rock a moment ago, hoping I would strafe to the side where she could pump me off, as you saw in my previous warrior videos. So against clerics, you have to be very careful of your positioning. And the res wave is coming up, and I'm getting hammered here. We're outnumbered about 2 versus 6. So I'm using my roots and snares to buy time to gap my opponents, and then I jump down and hug these rocks tight so that the opponents up on the rock don't have line of sight on me, and Joda bails me out with some clutch heals. So, you know, I do have pocket healer, you know, in this Warfront. It certainly does help, and I'm sure it padded my stats a lot, because Joda kept me alive a lot. And right here, I noticed one of the people who joined our battleground late is Kaz. That's Nathan, my friend from the UK, so he's in our guild. So now we've got 3 guildies in here, including me and one friend. And we're not in Vent, but we end up coordinating and playing together just by kind of watching what each other's doing. So here we're back at statue again, and there's about 4 or 5 of us here, and about 11 or 12 of the opposing factions. So we're pretty badly outnumbered, and what happens, we start to use this rock here kind of as a rally point and a line of sight breaker, and the terrain in this battleground is just superb. You can use tactics like this. My favorite battleground from World of Warcraft battlegrounds were Arathi Basin and Gilneas. But in my opinion, the map in this game it's one of the best battleground maps I've ever played. You can just see like the opportunities with the terrain, playing all kind of line of sight games and tactics, and surprising your opponents and flanking them. So right here, right there, I got rooted right next to my opponent, and it's a very bad time to get rooted because we're getting overrun here. So I used Rift Walk, even though the opponent's standing right in front of me, the target, to break the root. So later on in the game, I'll have other CC breaking effects, but not right now. We're getting shelled. I go ahead and run back into the enemies. I know that we're going to get killed, but I'm hoping to draw some of them away from our opponents. You can see here when they go running by, I counted 12 enemies. So basically 4 of us holding off about 12 for almost a minute, which was mad fun for us. So there, at the end of the Warfront, I leveled up from 24 to 25, but I was 24 for the whole Warfront here, and you can see I led damage by almost double the next closest person, and I finished with 13 killing blows. If you have questions, please post them on my blog article in the YouTube description or on YouTube. Please don't send me